one day, as these beautiful pastimes of love were taking place, some of the cowherd boys, headed by Sridama, Subala, Stoka Krishna, they spoke. O Rama, Balarama, who have very strong arms, and O Krishna, who is the vanquisher of all enemies, just close by, there is a forest of the name Taliban. In that forest are many, many trees, tall trees. And there are limitless fruits, fragrant, luscious fruits. They're growing. They're covering the trees. They're falling to the ground. The ground is such fresh, green, luxurious grass. And these fruits, we could smell them now, but nobody can eat them. Because there is a powerful mystic yogi who has taken the form of an ass. His name, Denuka. He's so cruel. Along with his associates who have also assumed the form of gigantic asses. They will not allow anyone to come to touch those fruits. Even a bird cannot enter Taliban without being killed. They are so wicked, so cruel, and so strong. They are the associates of Kamsa. Any human being that comes into Taliban, they will eat them alive. Such terrorism. But why should all those fruits go to waste? We want to see you perform your wonderful transcendental pastimes. The cowherd boys didn't really want the fruits themselves, but they know how Krishna loves his devotees. So they said, we want to eat these fruits. Please get them for us. Now, Krishna Balaram hear about the atrocious, incredible power of these demons. And they laughed and joked and said, yes, let us go to Taliban. And with joking words and singing songs, they entered Taliban. And Balaram went in first and went up to the trees to shake them with such force that the fruits were falling to the ground. For Denukasura, this was a serious trespass. Janasya moho yamaho mameti. The basis of material illusion is I and mine. He is thinking, I am Denuka. There is no power greater than mine. And this forest is mine. Who has the right to touch my trees and make my fruits fall from the trees? And the asses wouldn't even eat the fruits themselves. But they wouldn't let anyone else eat them either. It's just the way they found the happiness of power. So Denukasura, he was gigantic. He was a monster. When he galloped, the entire earth shook. The planet shook. He charged at Balaram. He was so... At least I could do something. So, charged at Balaram. His eyes were red like coals. So angry and so disrespectful. Balaram's the supreme personality of Godhead. He's all beautiful. He's the proprietor of everything that exists. And Denukasura turned his back to Balaram. And with his hind legs, he kicked Balaram in the chest with all his might. Now, it's impossible for any living being to withstand that. But Balaram just stood there, completely unaffected. More than anything he could say, that was a total insult to Denukasura. He was so outraged. He started galloping in circles in rage, screaming. I'm not going to do it again. Because you're laughing. This is serious. And again he turned to Balaram, kicking him with even more force. Balaram effortlessly, with one hand, he caught hold of Denukasura's hind leg and twirled him above his head. Just kept twirling him and twirling him and twirling him faster and faster and faster and faster until Denukasura was so dizzy that he died. And now Balaram is twirling around over his head this dead, gigantic demon ass. And then he threw him to the top of the biggest of all the tall trees. And those tall trees were gigantic. And the weight of Denukasura was so much. The tree leaned, and broke. And crashed into another tree, and that tree broke. And so many trees were breaking. Denukasura's friends, they were so obsessed with ego, so obsessed with anger, so obsessed with envy. Why couldn't they see that Balaram effortlessly, with a smile on his face, practically with one hand, just twirled him around and threw him away? But they were covered over. That's what envy does. That's what arrogance does. We can't see the reality. People may be so big and so powerful. Can't they see that death is right in front of them? Can't they see the dangers of this world? Can't they see the vulnerabilities and the shortcomings of themselves? Well, that's how thoroughly Maya can cover over a person. So all these gigantic asses attacked Balaram and Krishna. They actually first came to Krishna. And Krishna grabbed with one hand, and Balaram stepped next to Krishna. And both of them, one at a time, Krishna and Balaram, and the cowherd boys were enjoying this so much. Could you imagine seeing this personal, live in action? Through sound vibration, we're seeing it right now. Krishna and Balaram. And soon all the trees were covered with asses, asura asses. But it was beautiful. Because these gigantic, they were like mountains. They had dark bodies. And now there was blood covering their bodies. Usually blood and dead bodies are really disgusting, grotesque. But because Krishna did it, it was beautiful. It was so aesthetically pleasing to the heart. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya jutuskritam. When Krishna wants to do, he can do it in such a way that it's an artistic masterpiece that melts the heart with sweetness. You know, painters may paint a beautiful lady or a beautiful man or a wonderful landscape when the sun is rising, but nothing could compare to the beautiful artistic sweetness of Singh, Talavan at that time. That is Krishna. That is Balaram. Just then, The Devas were so mesmerized by this pastime. They showered rains of flowers, fragrant flowers upon Balaraman. And they sang beautiful songs and offered prayers. And after that, so many people got to come to Talavan to eat the fruits. But the cowherd boys, they wouldn't eat it because they thought they're contaminated by the blood of these asuras. They never wanted them in the first place. They just induced Krishna and Balaram to perform this wonderful Leela for the well-being of all the world. Thakur Bhakti Vinod explains that these different asuras that were liberated by Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan represent particular obstacles on the path of pure devotional service. And Denukasura especially represents gross material intelligence, ignorance of one's spiritual knowledge. Like sometimes we see abused donkeys or asses, they have to carry big loads. So by the power of Maya and by the influence of bad association, we also become like that. Sometimes the big load is knowledge or whatever we may acquire. When Kunti prays that too much knowledge, too much wealth, too much fame, too much beauty, too much prestige, they can all be disqualifications for devotional service because they could make us arrogant. So some of us, we collect so much, but at the same time, all those things could be great assets and blessings if we use them in harmony with our true self. This simple principle, Jivera Swarupoi Krishnera Nityadas, the basis of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, the basis of all the knowledge of the Vedas. We're all eternal servants of the Lord. Whatever knowledge we have, whatever wealth we have, whatever abilities we have, whatever influence over others we have, we should use it to uplift society para upakar. Help people physically, emotionally, but especially spiritually. Nothing pleases Krishna more than sharing his message, sharing his grace with others, in whatever way we have the capacity to do so. Otherwise, if we're doing it for our own selfish purposes, then it's that inclination of Denuka. Misplaced knowledge. Accumulating, but not utilizing properly. So by the grace of Balaram, by the grace of Balaram's representative, our spiritual masters, our gurus, our Diksha gurus, our Shiksha gurus, we actually learn how to have the determination to live in a spirit of seva, devotional service. And then we could slay this propensity within us represented by Denuka and his associates.